What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Don't talk about Canelo Alvarez versus Danny Miracle Man Jacobs. I'm going to break down this fight and what I think is going to be the outcome of this matchup of two champions at the 160-pound middleweight division. We're going to see what I'm going to give you my prediction. First of all, a lot of people have Canelo Alvarez on their top pound for pound list. A lot of people like Tank Davis thinks he's number one. He's number one on the pound for pound list. Myself, I don't have him on my top 5 pound for pound list. I have him, I don't have him number 1. I got him, I think, number 4 on my top pound for pound list. I have Terrence Bud Crawford at number 1. I have Errol the True Spence at number 2. I have Vasily Lomachenko at number 3. And I have Canelo Alvarez at number 4. And I have Jared Hurd at number 5. So he's definitely in the top 5, but a lot of people have him as number 1. My only reason why I wouldn't have him much high is in his every fight he's been in, he's fought elite competition. It's been very controversial. He's got the benefit of the doubt on a lot of those fights as far as judging. He's got favorable scorecards in a lot of those fights. And I'm gonna tell you, one of those fights was against when he fought Floyd Money Mayweather. When he fought him, Mayweather dominated that fight. Mayweather, won at least out of 12 rounds. You maybe can find maybe 2 rounds at maximum that you could have gave Canelo Alvarez. 10-2, is giving Canelo Alvarez the benefit of the doubt, giving him 2 rounds out of the 12 against Floyd Money Mayweather. And Adelaide Bird had that fight 114-114. She had that fight 6 rounds to 6. She found 6 rounds out of that 12 rounds to give Canelo Alvarez. And that was a horrible, horrible scorecard. So he's been given the benefit of the doubt when he's fought the elite competitions in over his boxing career. When he fought Austin Trout, I thought that was a very close fight, but I thought Austin Trout won that fight. But Austin Trout, you notice in that fight against Austin Trout, that fight was in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. You notice the fight with Canelo Alvarez versus Austin Trout, that they had that open scoring. And Austin Trout found out that he was behind in the second half of that fight, so he had to take a little bit more chances. He got reckless, and Canelo ended up dropping him. But I thought, even with the knockdown, I thought Austin Trout came on strong in the second half of that fight, and I thought he actually won that fight 7 rounds to 5. Maybe you could have had it 6-6 a draw, but I thought he won that fight. Pulled that fight out. Not 7 rounds to 5. I thought he won that fight. I thought with the Canelo knockdown, I thought he pulled that fight out probably like around by 1 point in that fight. I thought he pulled the fight out. He came on strong in the second half of that fight, and the only reason why I think he got knocked down was he was behind on the scorecards, and he had to try to take chances. Another case in point with Canelo fighting elite competition, and it's been a lot of controversy in him winning and getting a decision. When he fought Ezreal Lara, that was a very, very close fight. I thought early on Ezreal Lara controlled the pace. He used his jab, he used his movement, and he was outpointing Canelo. Canelo was able to kind of close the distance in the second half of that fight and go to the body. And he actually had Lara moving, doing a lot of moving, but not throwing a lot of punches. So I thought he took over in the second half of that fight. But I thought it wasn't enough for him to win the fight. I actually thought Lara pulled that fight out 7 rounds to 5, 115-113. You feel me? I thought he won that fight. But it was a very close fight. It could have been 6-6. If you had a 7-5 Canelo, it was a very close fight. Another example of Canelo Alvarez fighting elite competition, an elite fighter, and it's being very close, and he's getting a favorable decision in his favor. Okay? Then he goes and fight Cotto. I actually give him a lot of credit for this fight, man. I had this fight a draw, but I actually give him a lot of credit because I thought Cotto was going to beat Canelo. This was the first fight where I saw Canelo as an elite fighter. I thought he was more, before this fight, I thought he was more of a B-level fighter, even though I thought he lost when he fought Lara. Lara, to me, was elite level at that time. And Canelo, in the second half of that fight, he had Lara moving, and not throwing many punches, just trying to stay out of harm's way. So I gave him a lot of credit, even though I didn't think he won it. I thought he fought a good fight. But this was the first fight where I looked at him like, I was like, man, You know, Canelo is an elite level fighter. This was the first fight when I saw him as an elite level fighter. The punches he threw, the punches he set up, the combinations he threw in that fight, he fought a very good fight. Even though I had the fight a draw, I had Cotto rallying in the second half of that fight. I had after 9 rounds, I had Canelo up maybe 6 rounds to 3. I thought the last 3 rounds, Cotto rallied and was able to tie that fight up. But there's no way I could have gave that fight to Cotto straight up. But I thought he rallied in the last 3 rounds and was able to get a draw in that fight. But Canelo actually looked good in that fight. I thought Cotto was going to beat him in that fight. You know, I thought Cotto had just came off a impressive win against Sergio Martinez, who was at that time was a pound-for-pound fighter. You know, he's up there with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao as a top pound-for-pound fighter. And I thought he was going to beat Cotto, man. I thought he was going to beat him decisively. Cotto actually put on a good boxing display in that fight. Outpointed Sergio Martinez and beat him up and ended up stopping him. You know, Sergio Martinez at the time had a bad knee that he had hurt. Maybe I guess he had hurt in sparring or whatever, hurt in a previous fight, and it hadn't fully recovered. And he came in that fight basically on one leg. But I got to give credit, man. Cotto showed me, boxing ability. He showed me combinations and punches and boxing skill that I had never seen him display in a high-level fight like that. So he fought a good fight. I give him credit for that, and I give Canelo credit for it. Even though Canelo, I had to fight a draw, I thought that was the first time I looked at Canelo and saw Canelo's skills, and his skills had improved from the Mayweather fight, from the Lara fight, from the Austin Trout fight. That's the first fight I kind of seen him as an elite-level fighter. But saying all that, that fight was still very controversial. Okay, fast forward, you go on to the Triple G fight, the first fight. That fight there, I actually thought Canelo lost the fight. You know, it was a very close fight. Canelo fought good in that fight. He landed, especially early on in that fight, he was able to land a lot of punches on Triple G, as he had superior hand speed than Triple G, and he's able to land and get off and get out the way. But Triple G was, as the fight grew on, as the fight went on, Triple G was able to close the pace and get Canelo against the ropes and go to work. You know, touch him to the body and go up top and land his punches, man. He was able to break Canelo down, and Canelo kind of faded in the second half of that fight. And I thought Triple G actually won that fight 7 rounds to 4, but they ended up scoring that fight a draw. They gave Triple G a favorable scoring in that fight. A lot of people thought Triple G won that fight. And then they ended up having a rematch after Canelo failed a drug test. They were supposed to originally fight in May of that year, but they had to push it back to September as he was suspended for failing a drug test. And in the second fight, you know, a lot of people more people thought Canelo won that fight, as he fought an aggressive fight. He came forward. He didn't fight off the ropes like he did in the second half of the first fight, and he was able to back Triple G up, hitting him with beautiful combinations, going to the body, and he landed the cleaner, harder punches. But I thought Triple G actually landed more punches, as he was able to use his jab, and off the jab he was able to catch Canelo with the overhand right, and he fought a good fight. But he fought a good fight, even though he was fighting on his back foot a lot. He's fought a good fight, man. He showed his boxing skill. Triple G showed a different level than people thought, that he was just a come forward puncher, that was a seek and destroy type of fighter that come forward, work the body. And when you have to bring your guard down from the body assault, he would get you out of there up top. So he showed a different side, that he could fight off the back foot, jab, and he had a nice 2-1-2 combination. Throw the left jab and come back with the overhand right, and he was able to score a lot in the second half of that fight against Canelo. I had that fight a draw. But, you know, there's no way I could have gave, just like the Cotto fight, there's no way I could have gave that fight outright to Triple G, but I had a draw. If you had to give it to somebody, winner, you know, I would have gave it to Canelo, simply the fact that he landed the harder, cleaner punches in that fight. He landed the most. His punches had more effect. His punches did more damage to Triple G than Triple G punches did to Canelo. So he showed a different level in that fight, man. He showed that he showed in the first fight he could fight backing up. He just was on the ropes too much and he faded. But he showed he can box, hit combinations, and in and out type of movement in the first fight. The second fight, he showed that he can come forward, a seek and destroy type of fighter, and break a guy down with hard shots up top and hard shots to the body. So he showed a different side. Now he's fighting another guy. To me, another guy that's a real good boxer in Danny Jacobs, a guy that's got a good jab, a good overhand right, got good power, good power. And I don't think he has one punch knockout. Well, he showed that in the Peter Quillen fight that he had one punch knockout powers. He was able to stun hurt Quillen bad in the first round, and was able to finish Peter Quillen off in a first round knockout, which was surprising to a lot of people, man. You know, not that he beat Peter Quillen, because that was probably a 50-50 fight going in, but nobody expected him to knock Peter Quillen out in the first round. And I think Danny Jacobs is going to have to come in with that type of mentality. He's going to come in there with a seek and destroy mentality. If it goes 12 rounds, there's a lot of close and competitive rounds, and it's a 7-5 either way type of fight, he's not going to get the decision, man. Canelo's going to get the decision, man. Canelo is the draw. He's the money maker in Vegas, and he's going to get the benefit of the doubt on the scoring. That's been proven over Canelo's career. So Dan Jacobs gonna have to come in with that mindset, but seek and destroy mindset. He got to come in with the same mindset. I'm gonna say it again, same mindset he came in the Peter Quillen fight. He's got to come in there aggressive, looking to land big bombs. And if he gets Canelo hurt, he's got to go for the kill, man. He's got to go for the kill and try to go for the stoppage. So it's gonna be an interesting fight, man. I think the fight's gonna go down like this, though. As far as I'm telling you, what is Daniel Jacobs' mindset, and you're looking at the history of Canelo when he's fought elite level fighters. But as this fight gets closer, it's a couple of days away, man. I think it's gonna be a very, very competitive fight, man. A very, very competitive fight. I think Canelo hasn't fought a guy that's got the height and size over him like a Danny Jacobs, but that could be twofold, because Danny Jacobs, you know, he can use his jab and try to fight at a distance, but that's going to allow Canelo to kind of pick up where he left off at in the Triple G second fight. He's going to be able to kind of come forward, you know, get close and try to land shots, because he's got very fast hands, and try to land the harder, cleaner shots as he's fighting a guy that's looking to box him like Triple G did in the second fight. That's where Dan Jacobs is going to have to not be always backing up. If he's always backing up, even if he's outpointing Canelo doing that, he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt if he's backing up. They're going to be like, man, you backing up, and Canelo is, you know, bringing the fight to you, and he's landing the harder shots. He's an aggressive fighter. He's going to get the decision in that aspect if it's perceived that he's Canelo's the aggressor and Danny is the guy backing up, fighting off the back foot, a la Triple G in the second fight. So Danny's going to have to pick his spots, man. Danny's going to have to jab, use his athleticism, use his movement, use his height to kind of try to create a fight from a distance, because he's got the more natural advantages as far as reach and height and fighting, so he's gonna be able to get his shots off. He's got just as much quickness as Canelo, so with his reach and height, he's gonna have advantage fighting at a distance in that fight. So Canelo's gonna be looking to get inside and be the aggressor and try to get inside and work the body of Jacobs, and then hit him with combinations up top. So I think Canelo, like I said, Canelo, Danny's gonna have to pick his fight from a distance at a certain time, and other times he's gonna have to be aggressive and try to back Canelo up like Triple G did in that first fight. Back him up and look to land combinations and like I say, land combinations and go up top with some punches that can, if not hurt Canelo, get the respect and make Canelo hesitant to just come forward in aggressive style like he did against Triple G. So that's gonna be the key, man. Danny Jacobs showed very, very good defensive skill in his last fight against Derevyanchenko, man. Derevyanchenko is a pretty good puncher himself. I don't think he's a harder puncher as Canelo, but he's a pretty decent puncher. And Danny Jacobs did a good job of slipping a lot of punches, rolling a lot of his punches, taking the steam away from a lot of Derevyanchenko punches. And I think he's going to have to do that with Canelo. Canelo got some fast hands, so a lot of times he's not going to be able to, might not be able to get his guard up in time or whatever, and especially if he's throwing punches, if Danny's out of position, so he's going to have to be able to roll a lot of those punches. He did a good job in the Derevchenko fight. But I think it's just going to be a good fight, man. I think Danny's going to have success, and I think Canelo's going to have success in the fight. It's going to be a very close fight, a very tactical fight. It's going to have its moments of explosion with both guys landing good shots and both guys looking to land shots to get the other one out of there. But I think what's going to be Danny Jacobs' main problem is Danny Jacobs fights kind of like in spurts. He has moments in the fights where he's kind of, not really doing nothing. He gets, to me, especially in the Derevchenko fight, he stayed defensive too much. I guess he was like, oh man, he was trying to be a little too cute in my estimation. He was slipping punches, laying against the ropes, and then Derevchenko, throw punches. Even though it wasn't nothing serious landing, Derevchenko was outworking him, and that's why that fight was close. You notice that fight was a split decision. You listen to Danny Jacobs, he thought he won that fight clearly, but that's not what the judges said, because you had spots where you wasn't active enough and you let Derevchenko bring the fight to you. Now you fighting a high level fighter in Canelo that can bring the fight to you and get his shots off, and is a more of an accurate puncher than Derevchenko. So when you land on the ropes and trying to roll punches and trying to show your defensive skills, you can't do that against Canelo, man. You're gonna be losing rounds like that. So in my opinion, I think Canelo Alvarez is gonna win the decision. I think it's gonna be 7 rounds to 5 Canelo. I think it's gonna be pretty even after about 8 rounds. After round 8, I can see it maybe being 4-4 after round 8, but I think championship rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12. I think 9, 10, 11, and 12. I think Canelo's gonna win the majority of the championship rounds and end up winning a very close decision. Maybe it's 4-4 after 8 rounds. I can see it being 3-2 in the last 9, 10, 11, and 12. 9, 10, 11, and 12. I can see it being even after 8. And then 9, 10, 11, and 12, I can see maybe Canelo winning 3 out of those last 4 rounds and end up winning, maybe a unanimous decision, depending on what judges, how the judges looking at it, what are their history, what fighters they like. They like the aggressive fighter, or do they like the more of the tactical, technical fighter? But I got it 115, 113. Canelo in this fight, 7 rounds of fight, in a very, very competitive and very explosive fight. This fight here to me is gonna remind me of the this was an underrated, very good fight that people kind of maybe forgot about. But you remember Sugar Shane Mosley versus Miguel Cotto? That was a good fight. Miguel Cotto won it, very close. A lot of people thought Miguel Cotto would stop Shane Mosley in this fight because Miguel Cotto was stopping people before that fight, but I knew that he wasn't gonna stop Mosley. I mean, Mosley had never been stopped before in a fight. He had been there with some big time punches, Vernon Forrest, and he had been in there with some good punches. De La Hoya, he had never been stopped. But that was an underrated, very great fight, man. Miguel Cotto versus Sugar Shane Mosley, very close, very competitive. It was some boxing going in there, but then you had the explosive times when both guys were landing hard shots, landing big time shots, and both guys never backed down. I thought Shane Mosley hurt Cotto late in that fight, but he wasn't able to close the show as Cotto got on his bicycle and started boxing, and Mosley couldn't close the distance to land some more shots. Maybe that he could have got the stoppage or the knockout late in that fight, and Cotto was able to win that fight because he actually outboxed Shane Mosley, a guy that's known to be a high level boxer himself. So it was a very good fight. I think this fight's gonna be similar because a lot of people think Canelo is gonna have to get in there and maybe knock out Danny Jacobs. Maybe his power will be a little bit too much for Danny Jacobs. His heavy hands, his speed, hand speed, and stuff like that. They're thinking maybe Jacobs might outbox him. Maybe not get the decision. But I think Canelo gonna show that he can box too, as he showed in the Cotto fight, and he showed in both Triple G fights, that he's a very, very, very high level boxer. I think he's gonna be able to outbox Danny, and I think Danny will land his punches and land his shots and be explosive in the fight, and he'll show some good technical boxing skills in his own right. But I just think his times where he in fights where he's kind of, like I said, he's getting a little bit too defensive oriented, too defensive minded, and he's not. It's not. It's to me. To me, it's more like he's too defensive minded. He don't have that next gear. You know how you got 5 gears in your car. You got a nice sports car and it's 5 gears. It's like he can go to about 3rd gear and that's it. He can't get to that 4th or 5th gear, and he's gonna need that to beat Canelo. Canelo can go to 4th or 5th gear. He showed that in the Cotto fight, and he showed that in the second Triple G fight. He can go to that next level. He can go to that next level, man. And Jacobs haven't showed that. So I think this fight's gonna be very exciting, man. Very, very exciting. I think it got a chance to be. I ain't gonna say fight of the year because Shane Mosley versus Cotto wasn't fight of the year, but it was a high level fight involving 2 Hall of Fame fighters, and I think this is gonna be the same type of situation. You got a high level fight involving 2 future Hall of Famers in Miguel Cotto and Danny Jacobs. So I like just like Cotto won that fight in a very close unanimous decision over Mosley. I like Canelo in a very close fight against Danny Jacobs. 115-113, Canelo Alvarez over Danny the Miracle Man Jacobs. This is JB Sports with my prediction. The man, the myth, the legend. I holla.